There is a new way to loop in Ableton Live, and it's a feature that dropped with Ableton Live 12, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it. So let me play you a quick demo using this device called the PreArranger, and try to see if you can follow along with what I'm doing with the controller in the software, and then I'll explain it all in a bit. Let's dive right in. Alright, so I designed that performance to be relatively simple so you could hopefully easily follow along with all the different parts. I'm using the TempoKey K25 today. Now this is a controller that is not made for Ableton Live, so doing looping with this kind of controller should require a bunch of extra custom mapping or an additional controller to launch clips and things like that. But if you notice, I was basically able to not take my hands off the controller the entire time. And here's how it works. The device I'm using is a Max for Live device from the Performance Pack by IFTA. This entire pack was designed by a single person and released with Live 12. The specific device I'm using is the PreArranger, and I've got the PreArranger loaded here on just an empty MIDI track. Now the PreArranger itself has some automated function to it, but let's hold that thought for now and let me explain how this actually works. First of all, we're looking at the project exactly how it was after I finished performing, but let me go ahead and show you what it looks like before I start performing. I'm going to delete all of the things that were recorded during that live performance. And hopefully you can see that every instrument has two tracks. So the piano has piano, but it also has two piano. The drums, just drums, and then two drums, and so on and so forth. This is what is required to get the PreArranger to work. Let's take a look at the piano tracks for now. So in the two piano track, you can see that I've got a clip that's called arm piano, and then a clip that's called record piano, followed by a bunch of clips that just say piano. The arm clip is going to arm the piano track if it's not armed already, and the record piano is going to record a new clip that is that length. Then that recorded clip is going to get duplicated everywhere I have one of these piano clips. I'm going to delete a few of these clips just so you can very clearly see what's happening. And then let's go ahead and unarm the piano, run the project from the beginning, and you can see what happens. Piano's armed, and I can play. Now I'm recording. And now, as we end the recording, that clip's going to get duplicated. Stop the project here. You can see that that clip that got recorded here, everything that I just played, got duplicated into each of these spots. Everywhere that there's a piano clip in the 2 track. So following through with that logic, you can see down here in the 2 sets of tracks that are dedicated to drums, in the PreArranger track for the drums, we have a record drums clip, which tells it to immediately start recording, and then we have drums clips, which are the drum loops. So let's run that again one more time. Keep an eye on the piano and the drums. recording. We're gonna record drums right away. And then those drums got looped, but I did delete the piano loop from there, so it didn't put a piano loop there. But you can see everywhere there was a drum clip, our drum loop got put there. So now that we have a basic understanding of how that works, I want to show you how to set it up from scratch. But first, let me tell you a little bit more about the Sonido TempoKey K25. So I have featured this controller before, and a couple standout features are the fact that it's got its own dedicated power port, which is really great for mobile beat making, as well as using it with hardware. So you don't need to use the USB-C port to actually power this keyboard. And of course, we've got the MIDI out jack on the back, so you've got that ability to control hardware. But on the hardware front as well, something that saved me even in this performance that we're talking about today, which we'll get to in a minute, is the fact that I can change all of the MIDI CCs and MIDI channels for things like the keys, the knobs, and the pads right from the controller. Just by holding this encoder, pressing a pad, I can change what kind of control this pad is, either a note or a CC or a program change. I can also change what MIDI channel it sends on. This is super clutch. And I can change the actual note it plays. So especially if you've got like a no computer setup going, being able to make all those configurations right from the controller itself means you can truly be computerless. And with a tool like the PreArranger, like we're talking about today, you don't need any built-in DAW functionality to do the cool live looping stuff. Link to this controller is in the description down below. When you support the sponsor, you support the channel. But now, let me show you how to set up the PreArranger from scratch. All right, so to set this up from scratch, I've got a totally new Ableton Live set. I'm gonna find the PreArranger and I'm just gonna put it on one of these MIDI tracks. Now, I alluded to this earlier, but it can actually create tracks for us. You know how we need 2 tracks for each thing we're trying to perform with? So if I go to track type, I'm gonna select MIDI. This does also work with audio tracks too, so that can be a lot of fun. And I'm gonna click Create Track. Now, it created 2 tracks here. It created a track titled 1 and a track titled 2-1. The 2 tracks are sort of what control the actions that happen, and the 1 track is where our actual instrument goes. So let's just quickly choose an instrument, and you can see that it's automatically created these clips here, which we don't have to use, but we can use. Let's go ahead and give it a shot and try with the metronome on, press play. So now it recorded that clip in that loop. And again, I can have that repeat for as many times as I want. So let's delete those. Let's try this again. 2, ready, go. Then it just repeats. Now, what determines how long the recording is how long this record clip is. And you do want it to align with Live's launch quantization. So basically you want to have it starting on a new bar if that's how your launch quantization is set. So just to show you that you can manually do this as well, I'm going to delete the clips that it already created. And I'm just going to create one long clip here that's a 4-bar clip. And I'm going to rename it to Record 1. So the record is the action, 1 is the title of this track. Now, if I want that to repeat, I'm gonna create a new MIDI clip here, rename it to just 1, the title of the track. I'm gonna move these clips over so we get a little bit of a count-in going into them, turn the metronome on, and let's record. We're able to hands-free record that loop. Now, it's not just about recording the loop right after, remember. It's called PreArranger for a reason, because I might want that loop to come in again down here a little later or down here a little later, and it will drop that clip in everywhere we find that. And just to go back to the PreArranger track before, you can see that we can continue to create tracks using the PreArranger itself, and it will continue to create tracks, and we can even change the name of a track if we have a specific source or a specific track name that we want to use. But you can also just do this yourself with MIDI tracks. So I can call this 2 drums and then make another MIDI track that's called drums. I can find a drum kit, put it on the drums track, create a short clip, call it record drums, and then the loop can go there. Drums. Have that loop a couple times. And that loops around just like that. So you can do everything manually. You just got to have the PreArranger somewhere in your track. So looking back at the project that we were demoing at the beginning of this video and just deleting all of these already recorded things, you can see like this is even just a very simple arrangement, but you could be a lot more complex with this, though there are some drawbacks. For instance, one way I kind of cheated a little bit was by setting the drums to receive input from MIDI channel 2 and setting the piano to receive MIDI from MIDI channel 1. The reason for this is because I start recording the drums right after I start recording the piano. And the PreArranger isn't quite fast enough to switch instruments in time if you're doing back-to-back looping. So basically, even though right here we should just be switching to drums, I was still triggering the piano after the switch happened. There are also just some occasional bugs, like occasionally it just won't record a loop for some reason. So I'd have to do more testing to see if this was reliable for some kind of high stakes, big live performance. But I really love this as a tool because it allows you to use basically any controller without having to launch clips, without having to manually do certain things if you already know what the song structure is going to be. I really wish that Ableton would devote more resources to developing features like this. To know that this was developed by one person is an amazing thing, and if you don't know him, I'll link to his channel down below. He developed some amazing, really cool stuff. But if he were able to lead a broader team that could really refine tools like this, that could be a proper part of Ableton Live and not just Max for Live devices, I think the community would be very, very happy. So that is the PreArranger. It's really cool for live looping. Let me know if you're gonna dive in and try it out, or if you've tried it out already. If you need a solid MIDI controller, pick yourself up a Sonido TempoKey. Link is in the description. When you support the sponsor, you support the channel. That's going to be all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you to my channel members. Have a good one.